Here we are in Fort Worth, Texas, famously known as Cowtown, where the Wild West begins.
Yeehaw.
But long before the construction zones and questionable barbecue debates, Fort Worth was the Wild West. Cattle drives, saloons, and more shootouts than a family game of Uno. And trust me, they didn't call it Hell's Half Acre because the rent was too high. It's time we learn about the history of Fort Worth and learn how Cowtown got its name. So how did Fort Worth go from empty prairie to a little overwhelming? The U.S. Army slaps a fort down on the Trinity River. Why? To keep settlers safe from wild animals, outlaws, and Native Americans. The fort brought along opportunity, along with cowboys, traders, and folks just looking to make a buck. Suddenly, Fort Worth was the ultimate pit stop heading up the Chisholm Trail. Thousands of cattle and horses clogged the streets of Fort Worth, and you thought I-35 was bad. But unlike that guy who refuses to use his blinker, Fort Worth took pride in who they were. As the city made a name for itself, it became the cattle hub of Texas, earning itself the nickname Cowtown. But let's talk about a different nickname Fort Worth has. It wasn't always the charming, rodeo-filled city we know today. At one point, it earned itself the nickname Hell's Half Acre. Picture this: saloons on every corner, brawls breaking out at the drop of a hat, and enough whiskey flowing to drown a herd of cattle. Here in Hell's Half Acre, if you were out after sundown, chances were you'd run into a cowboy looking for some trouble. Your best bet? Avoid saloons and crowded areas altogether. That is, if you want to stay alive. These were places where losing a poker game could mean losing it all. Welcome to the Wild West, where your luck and your life are often dealt together, and you couldn't fold fast enough to save yourself. So how did Fort Worth go from total chaos to charm? Well, after years of outlaws and whiskey-fueled mayhem, things eventually got a little more organized. Still outlaws and booze, but organized nonetheless. Apparently, cattle weren't the only things that were getting shipped around here anymore. As Fort Worth became more connected, it started growing up, and fast. But unlike its rowdy past, it wasn't all about the fussing and fighting it was known for. Now, it was all about the banking, industry, and, well, still a little bit of whiskey. Fort Worth, the Stockyards, once home to literally every kind of chaos. It became a center for commerce. Cattle were shipped by rail, and businesses popped up everywhere. Fort Worth even earned the nickname Where the West Begins, as it became a gateway between East Texas and the more rugged West. And here we are today, a city that's managed to hold on to its Western charm while embracing the future. Fort Worth has never lost its swagger, and there's still a little bit of Wild West in the air, minus the saloon brawls, but with plenty of country music, cowboys, and of course, that famous Texas hospitality. As you walk the streets of Fort Worth today, you can still feel it. The grit, the pride, the stories. It's like the past never left. Nearly 200 years later, the history isn't just remembered, it's built into every corner of the city. Fort Worth doesn't just tell its story, it lives it.